Hello, and thank you for joining me on this webinar where we'll be talking about the link between stress and diabetes. Now, as a stress management consultant, I'm always interested in exploring how stress affects our mental and physical health. And I've recently learned that Diabetes UK estimates that more than 5.8 million people are living with diabetes in the UK today, and that's at an all-time high. So I'm delighted to be joined today by Auriel Wetherall, a diabetic coach, and she's going to help me delve into the link between stress and diabetes. So hello, Auriel, and welcome.
Hello, Nicole. Thank you for this opportunity this afternoon to discuss diabetes with you and how it affects stress.
Brilliant. You're welcome. You're welcome. So tell me, what inspired you to become a diabetic coach, and how has your own experience shaped your approach?
Well, I've lived with the condition myself, type 2, for 26 years. Now, you could say I'm fortunate, but I've got other family members that are diabetic. They're type 1, so my mum and my brother are type 1 diabetes. So I know what the risks are involved. And when I was diagnosed 26 years ago, it was just a case of, thank you very much. Unfortunately, you've got diabetes. Welcome to the club. Here's your prescription. Take these pills. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Okay.
She didn't really get a lot of awful support, and but I was lucky, as I say, I had family members that have got diabetes, so I did have that external support around me. But I think what actually inspired me to become a diabetes coach is because when I was first diagnosed, it took me to quite a dark place, which I might not be here talking to you today. Let's just put the finer point on it without going into too sort of much detail within that. And I think because I've managed to sort of live with the condition and I've improved my health greatly, some of the things that I've learned, I'd love to pass on to other people so that they don't have to go through the same kind of thoughts, feelings that I did when I was first diagnosed myself.
Wow, that's brilliant, and I'm really intrigued to learn more about this, Auriel. So I'm really grateful that you're here to share your wisdom with us. So thank you for that. So we know that stress impacts the body in lots of different ways. Now, stress in itself isn't an illness, but it does impact our mental and physical health. And I've done a little bit of research into sort of how stress can exacerbate or even trigger diabetes. So what I know that when we're under stress, that your liver produces extra blood sugar, glucose, which gives you that boost of energy. But if you're under chronic stress, if you're under stress all the time, then your body's not able to keep up with this extra glucose surge, and that can cause a resistance to insulin. So this is one way in which chronic stress can increase your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Now, of course, being under stress doesn't necessarily equal developing diabetes, but it does, I understand, increase the risk factor.
It does, yeah, yeah.
And it can make it more difficult to manage your diabetes or make diabetes worse if you're a sufferer.
It can, because what happens is the cortisol levels, obviously, as you know, as we get stressed, increase. And when you get up first thing in the morning, you've got that fight and flight mechanism in you to help you fight the day. And you normally find people with diabetes, they feel ever so tired, especially in the morning, because the liver works overnight to break down those glucose within the system. So it's quite often that when somebody starts to develop symptoms of diabetes, they may find themselves getting up 2 or 3 times in the night to visit the bathroom, and they might find that they become incredibly thirsty, and that's because the liver can't control the blood sugar levels. But because the cortisol levels increase the blood sugar, it then puts more wear and tear on the liver. And what happens if you've got excess sugar levels within your body, what happens is that extra glucose gets stored in your fat cells, and then it can increase your weight. And weight gain is one of the things that can tip you over the edge for becoming a type 2 diabetic. If you're type 1, it's more of an autoimmune disease. Type 2 is an autoimmune disease as well, but it's slightly different with type 1 people. They've got no insulin, as whereas type 2 people, we do produce some, but not enough to control the levels, and that's where you need to maybe take oral medication or insulin injections, or maybe just change your lifestyle slightly to reduce that risk for yourself.
Right. Okay. And I know we're going to be talking about weight gain in a little bit, but just talk to me a little bit more about those sugar levels, those blood sugar levels. Why is high or low blood sugar levels a critical factor in diabetes management?
Okay, well, low sugar levels, everybody has different kinds of ways that they know that they're getting a low sugar level. So with low sugar levels, that's normally anything that drops below a point about 3.9 within the glucose level. And that can increase your risk of a hypoglycemic attack, which is known technically as a hypo. And that could mean you could have shaking, you could have hot sweats, you might become incredibly confused. You could even become very aggressive verbally or physically. It's almost like being drunk and being so drunk that somebody says, "Did you remember last night you did X, Y, Z?" And you're sort of like, "I can't remember." And that's what it can be like sometimes when you've had low blood sugars, because you can do things that are completely out of character. And again, if you are driving, it's really important to keep your sugar levels above 5. So they say 5 to drive, because it can drop very, very rapidly from if you go under 5 down to 3.9, which could mean that you could, not being rude, you could conk out of the wheel and you could have a serious road collision, or you could seriously injure someone. So that is something you need to be aware of. Now, with the high blood sugar levels, what you tend to get is you tend to get more sort of blurred vision, increased first, wanting to go to the bathroom, more extreme tiredness and lethargic. And that's the one that can put more stress and strain on our internal organs like our heart, our liver, our pancreas and things like that. So if you've got high blood sugar, that's where the risk is most likely to come into play. So if you do have, I don't know, like cut your finger or your leg or something, it can take a lot longer to heal, because you've got high blood sugar levels. So, and you're more likely to get things like cellulitis, maybe leg ulcers, problems with your vision. And so it can affect your mental health as well. So it can make you feel very downbeat.
Okay. Well, I have to say, I didn't realize there are quite so many factors in diabetes.
No, that's all right. Everybody is different. Some of the symptoms other people might get, and some symptoms people don't get. It's just one of those things. A bit like stress. Some people get a really bad headache. Some people get a really tight chest. It's the different. It's how it affects different people in different ways.
Sure, of course. So, what would be some common signs that stress is negatively impacting someone's diabetes?
Normally find that you're eating quite a balanced, healthy diet. You're not eating too many carbohydrates. You're eating what you would normally eat, but your sugar levels are increasing. You go to the doctors, and you'll find that your blood sugar levels have gone up. You may find that you start to gain weight as well, because what happens is the body retains the water. So that's why sometimes with diabetes, you can feel almost like you're puffy. When you're bloated, you can feel slightly like that. Or you might find you get a lot of yeast infections. So,
Right.
and things like that, because obviously where you're urinating the blood out of your kidneys, naturally that they like, yeast and sugar, put them together. And even things like an abscess or something like that on your tooth that is putting stress on the body, because the body's having to work hard to fight that infection, can increase your sugar levels as well.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So even if someone is eating all the right stuff, as it were, and
Mm,
exercising, just being under stress, either from life experiences or infections in the body, can cause those blood sugar
yeah,
spikes.
yeah,
Wow.
can.
Okay. Let's have a chat about weight gain because we mentioned that earlier. And I mean, as a stress management consultant, I know that stress can cause weight gain in itself. Um, partly because the cortisol, as you mentioned, stimulates fat and carbohydrate metabolism. You get that surge of energy in your body. But this can also increase your appetite. So people who are under stress often feel more hungry. So you get that blood sugar spike from the
That's right.
adrenaline, and then when that drops, cortisol kicks in to kind of replenish that energy more quickly. But this can have the effect of making us crave salty, sugary, fatty foods to get that sort of energy levels back, and particularly sugar. So you get that kind of cycle of high sugar rush, sugar drop, we eat loads of sugar,
That's right.
and
Yes,
on it goes. Um, and of course, if we eat a lot of sugar, your body stores it. Um, and that's often stored as abdominal fat. So you get that sort of
it is.
tummy
Yeah,
fat.
that's what you'll find most type 2 diabetics will have a little beer belly, whether we're ladies or gents, we'll have a little bit of a belly on us. Some people are slim and they haven't got any fat on them at all, and sometimes it can be just stress that has increased them to their sugar levels, because everybody reacts differently.
Yeah,
She said some people do overeat. For me, myself, when I'm stressed, I'm a comfort eater. But for some other people, they don't eat regularly. But they might just grab the odd Mars bar and the
yeah,
Cornish pasty from the garage just to keep themselves going. So not actually eating a lot. They're quite slim because they're still in a calorie deficit, but they're probably eating the wrong types of foods that are
yeah.
not fueling them efficiently, and that's where the high glucose can come in.
Exactly. So you've got those high sugar foods that people reach for, like you said, comfort eating or for a quick energy boost. But actually, what that's causing is that cycle of high and low sugars. And of course, the hormones that are released when we're under stress can actually affect the hormones that control our appetite. So when you're under stress, your appetite can be affected in other ways. So you feel like you need to eat more than usual, even if you don't. Um, and also, I know that chronic stress can cause persistently high insulin levels,
Yes,
and that
yeah,
can lead to insulin resistance, can't it? So your cells don't respond correctly to insulin,
that's
and this can also cause weight gain. And then on top of that, an excess of cortisol can cause your body to produce less testosterone. So that causes a decrease in muscle mass and slows down how many calories your body
that's
burns.
right. Yeah,
Um, so it's all kind of, it's really quite complex, isn't it? And of course,
it
when you're
is.
under
Yeah.
constant stress, you're really
Mm.
tired. And if we've got to lower energy levels, we don't feel like exercising, and we want to comfort eat, um, and eat, the wrong foods maybe to give us that energy boost. But a lot of people under stress don't sleep well. So you've got
Yeah,
that
sleep
lack of
hygiene is quite
energy.
important.
Yeah,
The reason, again, sleep hygiene is quite important because the liver does its work overnight. And if you're stressed while you're asleep, it's a double whammy.
yeah,
So yes, yes, sleep hygiene is very important as well.
yeah, absolutely. And of course, if we're not sleeping properly, that in itself can cause us to gain weight. So it's a bit of a
Yeah.
vicious cycle, isn't it? It really is. Um, so, Ariella, are there any other strategies that we can use um, to combat that weight loss? Talk to me about how you support people
That's
with
okay.
weight loss um, in your coaching business.
That's right. Well, first of all, I've been there. I used to weigh 16 stone. I now weigh about 12 stone. But I'm still on my weight loss journey. So I've been there. When I am talking to people that are overweight, I'm not someone that's always been a size 8 and been able to eat anything I want. And I don't really understand getting up at 2 a.m. in the morning and smashing a box of Pringles and a tub of Ben and Jerry's. I've been there. I've done it and bought the size 24 t-shirt. So I think the most thing I tend to work on is, rather than saying like you would if you went to a GP, they'd go, "Oh no, you mustn't eat ice cream, you mustn't eat crisps, you mustn't eat biscuits." We know they're not they're not great. But the first thing I do with a client when I speak to them is obviously it's more important for me to know about their own personal lifestyle. So if it is stress, what is causing them stress within their life? And sometimes it might not be anything to do with diet or exercise. It might just be getting some strategies in place where they can do things where they are less stressed, and then that will help them to reduce their insulin resistance. And
Okay.
then we can look at other things they can put in place. So to put it in layman terms, somebody said to me, "Oh goodness me," not a client, but in general in life, is somebody said, "I'm always late to work. I get up early, and I'm doing so many things around the house in the morning. I'm always late." Well, what kind of things do you do? My first question would be, well, what kind of things do you do that you think makes you like, well, I've got to make my sandwiches and the kids' sandwiches and my husband's sandwiches. Then I've got to get my husband's flask ready. Got to make sure the kids have got their right PE kit in their bags. Okay, so if you could do something different, what's one of the things you could do to maybe reduce that you're doing in the morning? Well, I suppose I could make the sandwiches and that the night before, but I'm tired. By the time I get to, I just can't be bothered to go outside and do the sandwiches and the pack up. Okay, and I'd say to them, well, in the evening, do you have a cooked meal? Well, yeah, we normally do. We sit, that's the only time we sit down as a family. So whilst you're cooking the meal, how would you feel about preparing the sandwiches whilst you're waiting for the potatoes to boil? Oh, I've
Okay.
never thought of that. And they're little things that you can put in place that just make people's life a little bit easier, that are very simple, but we just don't think about. But I can hold you accountable for that as a coach and support you through that. And then there's other things. It might be somebody does actually want help and support on what they're eating. And rather, I'd say, well, how many biscuits do you eat a day? Well, six. What biscuits do you eat? Well, custard creams normally. Okay. And when do you eat those? Oh, I normally eat them after work because I'm starving hungry. When I get in the door and I just put the kettle on and I just eat biscuits mindfully and I don't know what I'm doing. And again, you can come up with a strategy for that. I still eat biscuits, but I only have the one. My strategy is I put them on a high shelf. I'm only 5 foot, and my husband has to get me one. So that's my strategy. But everything is different for everybody else. So they're the kind of it's doing real life stuff from somebody that's lived with the experience. I suppose that's the easiest way to put it across.
Yeah, I love all those little creative ideas that you've got to just little tweaks in someone's
That's it. It
lifestyle.
doesn't
So
have to be big things. And you don't, the thing is what I don't want people to do is to give up the foods that they love. Have the foods that you love, but have them less
mhm.
and have them at a different time. So if you've just had an evening meal, for example, where you've had vegetables and protein, you've got those building blocks to slow down your digestion. So if you do like a biscuit and a cup of tea, the good time to eat that might be after even meal, to have your biscuit and your cup of tea then as your dessert. So yeah, you're still getting your kick from your custard cream, but it's not going to spike your insulin as much.
So that's interesting. So the timing of when you're eating the foods,
Yeah, can be
even
really
that can
helpful
make
as
a
well.
difference.
Yeah.
Amazing. Really interesting. Okay. Are there any specific foods or nutrition habits that help combat stress for diabetics, do you think?
Um, I'm trying to think. Not really. The most important thing I would say is don't see any foods as diabetic as forbidden. There's some foods that, yes, would be a bit stupid if we did eat. Like somebody said to me, would you like a treacle tart? It might sound really, really nice, but that's one of the things I'd probably go, no, I'm all right, thank you. And I'd probably have something like a Swiss roll. But so it means you can still eat those things you enjoy, but there are things that are probably just a little bit out of limit.
Hmm.
But one of the things you can do to reduce stress, walking is very good. So even if you have your main meal, either before or after, just go for a quarter of an hour walk, and that will help to release your, it'll help to relax you. Even if you're into something like meditation or visualization, or maybe just laying on the bed if you can and popping your headphones on for a quarter of an hour, that can reduce your cortisol levels, which again will help to reduce your sugar levels as well. So I think one of the biggest things to do first of all and to combat it would be to look if anybody's got any stress within their life that they could hopefully control better or minimise.
Okay. So of course, and that's where I can come in and help support people, because you talked about relaxation and visualization. And of course, we know that um, whereas stress triggers the fight or flight response, the sympathetic nervous system, the antidote to this is to trigger the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest state. So when your body's like completely relaxed, it really lowers all your cortisol levels, and your releases that adrenaline, and helps your body to recover, and boost your immune system as well. So it
That's
helps
right,
with like
yeah.
all those all those things. So really really beneficial. And I often work with my clients using hypnotherapy, which induces a really lovely deep state of relaxation. Um, really helps people to relax, and people can do this through self-hypnosis. They can listen to a guided relaxation
That's right. And I think that's something
hypnosis
you
tape.
do, isn't it, Nicole? I think you've mentioned to me before that's something that you can support clients with.
Absolutely. So yeah, people can download a hypnosis track and listen to it in their own time and space. So as you said, if after dinner you need to have a lay down to help reduce your stress, or before you go to bed if you're struggling to sleep, that's a great time to listen to a guided relaxation or hypnotherapy. And we can go a little bit deeper with that, and we can support people with that weight loss journey. So if there's certain foods that you think, I really need to cut those out, but I find it really hard, or I'm, habitually comfort eat, then hypnotherapy can be great in helping people break those habits and actually retrain your brain to eat more healthy foods, or be more motivated to do that 15-minute walk after dinner, to help burn off that glucose.
Yeah, I mean, I found something really interesting actually myself. I mean, I'm a human, I get stressed, we all get stressed. And I found that when I get those sugar cravings, because my sugar levels are high, I'm very lucky. I like Marmite. Not everybody does. But I found out that if I just have half a teaspoon of Marmite, because I get that salt hit, it reduces that craving for sugar. So, I mean, little tips like that can help and support people.
Wow, I didn't know that a bit of salt helps you reduce your sugar craving. So
Well, it does for
that's
me
gold.
anyway. Whether it does for somebody else, I don't know.
It's a good thing to try for sure. I know that Auriel, you help HR teams create diabetes-friendly workplaces, and this is a big part of what you do. So, what do you think is the biggest challenge that employees with diabetes face, especially in a high stress job? And we know that stress levels in the workplace are increasing year
Yeah.
on year, aren't they?
Well, 44% of people that do shift work are more likely to develop diabetes. And that's not through stress, but that can be, as we said before, through sleep hygiene and things like that. But I think what it is, it's making other employees aware of, if somebody says, because not everybody likes to say hello and wear a little sign on their head saying, hello, I'm diabetic. Some people want to keep it to themselves, which is perfectly natural. And by law, you don't have to share with your employer that you are actually diabetic. But it is how I would recommend it if you can, because if anything ever happens at work, you've got something to support you. One of the symptoms I get is I get quite aggressive if my blood sugar goes low. So I could be really rude and aggressive to a colleague, and I might think, goodness me, what has on earth happened with Oriel? And it could mean that I end up in a disciplinary position, as where if they knew that I was diabetic, I might go, her sugar's going low, let's throw a Mars bar at her head and sit her down for 5 minutes and get her sorted out. So yeah, it can be very helpful doing workshops for companies, just to make employers and employees aware of how they can help and support diabetics. Also have a look at their policies as well. Just make sure they've got everything intact. If not, I've got somebody I can recommend them to get those legal policies in place, just so it crosses the T's, dots the I, keeps everybody happy. And again, if you can help somebody control their diabetes and their stress levels by being more flexible with your working hours, they're less likely if they do become unwell, like they just get a common cold, where it would take an ordinary person maybe 3 or 4 days to get over it. It could take somebody with diabetes 2 or 3 weeks to get over it because
Okay.
their immune system is a lot lower. That's why we're offered free things like flu jabs and things like that on the NHS. And again, it can make your sugar levels go really high as well. So, yeah, they're the kind of things that I look at. But also, we do look at stress as well when we do those workshops, and that's something I know you help me with. Sometimes you'll come along to those workshops, and we work in collaboration, don't we?
That's right. Yeah. So it works really well together, doesn't it? That you talk about the diabetes management, and I can support people with psychological sort of stress management techniques, and provide those recordings for listening at home in your own time. So, if someone listening today, Auriel, is struggling with stress and high blood sugar, what's the first step they should take today? What's your kind of top tip?
Well, my top tip would be to just try and see, even if you can do some deep breathing exercises, even if you're sitting in your office chair, nobody need know. So it's what we call triangle breathing. So basically, it's just breathing in for 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, holding your breath for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and then breathing out for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And that will help to, as you know, with stress, to reduce your heart rate, reduce your blood pressure, and it stops those cortisol levels going "Woo," and sending that alarm bells, and putting that insulin levels up. Another thing is maybe just if you have got an open planned office, just walk around the office if you can, or maybe just go as if you're going to the loo or something, just if you can, just get a 1 or 2 minute walk in, walk to the water fountain, get yourself a cup of water, and you're just really taking 5 minutes out of your day, but you're not going, oh, I'm diabetic, I'm under stress, I must relax if I'm, nobody knows what you're doing. And again, if you have a lunch break, and you're lucky enough to have a lunch break, if you can do a 5, 10 minute walk outside somewhere, that's quite helpful as well.
Great. So nice, really easy, simple
Yeah.
things to incorporate in your day. I love the breathing techniques. As you know, I use that a lot with my clients, and it's such a simple thing, but so calming.
Mm.
And another one I'd throw into that mix as well, if you're feeling really stressed, is pop to the bathroom and splash some cold water on your face, or
Yeah,
if you don't want to disturb your makeup, over your hands and your wrists, just to help your body sort of
that,
physically cool down. That can be really good as well, can't it?
yeah, that's it. I mean, they recommend that for us ladies of a certain age, if we're getting a bit hot, to run our wrists underneath the cold tap. So that can be the same thing, again, to reduce stress. Yeah, so I agree with that.
Brilliant. So, Auriel, how can people connect with you and learn more about your coaching programs and the work you
Okay,
do?
that's all right. Well, I have got a website which is Flourish with Type 2. If you type in my name, Auriel Wetherall, I should pop up. Or you can have a look on my LinkedIn page. I'm on that as well. So yeah, please feel free to drop me a DM. And I'm always open to having a half-hour discovery call with somebody. I like to chat with people first, to be honest with you, because we can't all work with some people. And again, if somebody needed something that I can't provide for them, then the last thing I'd want to do is take money off them and not be able to give them the service that is going to help and support them. And again, it's great having people like you, Nicole, that I can call and say, oh, I've got this client, can we collaborate and work together? Or they might be having some really big bad stress in their life that I think actually, you know what, Nicole could work with this person first, and then if they wanted to, if they haven't sorted out that issue, they can always come back and get some help and support from me.
Brilliant. Thank you. And of course, I'm always happy to talk to anyone about stress management, either on a one-to-one basis or in the workplace. So do feel free to drop me a DM or get in contact. Auriel, thank you so much. It's been really informative chatting with you. I've learnt loads, and I'm sure everyone else has as well. And I look forward to working with you very shortly in the future.
Lovely. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thanks, Auriel.
Thank you.